Hi, welcome to Sustainable Strategic Planning. I'm Dr. Grinnell. Today we're going to look at some sustainable strategic planning approaches. The purpose is to incorporate greener strategies into our planning so that we become a more sustainable and responsible organization. By the end of this session, you'll be able to incorporate sustainable approaches into an organization's strategic planning, including green to gold plays, backcasting, and scenario planning. Let's get started. Green to gold plays were developed by Esty and Winston in their excellent book, Green to Gold, to help businesses gain what they call an eco advantage, using smart strategies to gain a product and marketing advantage by viewing their operations and customers through an environmental lens. The plays give you an approach that will help you work through environmental issues and risks, while encouraging innovation that will reduce your impact while improving the bottom line. There are 8 possible green to gold plays that Esty and Winston identify. They range from more certain, short-term ideas, to less certain, longer-term ideas. The ideas examine the downside of the equation, that is, the part of the business that happens before the product gets to the consumer, and the upside of the equation, that is, the consumer and post-consumer side. There are a myriad of strategic options in each one of the 4 areas to reduce impact and risks and increase revenues and reputation. Esty and Winston identified 8, and we're going to take a look at each one. The first short-term downside play is eco-efficiency, improving resource productivity, getting the same output with fewer resources. This means reducing the amount of materials, water, energy, and labor that you need to bring your product and service to market. The example here is double-sided printing, which can reduce the paper you need by up to 50%. The second short-term downside play is eco-expense reduction. This addresses the expense that businesses incur in controlling pollution or paying for waste disposal. If businesses can switch to ingredients that are eco-friendly, they don't need to spend time and effort reporting on polluting materials. If businesses can reduce the waste they generate, they can reduce the size of dumpsters they need. All of this has a positive effect on water, soil, and air pollution and landfill space needed. The third short-term downside play is value chain eco-efficiency. Many businesses have found that they can reduce costs while reducing the resources needed by their distribution system, packaging, transportation, or labor. IKEA, for example, is famous for their flat packages that reduce the sizes of boxes. This allows them to load more boxes per trip, saving fuel as well as packaging. The longer-term downside play described by Esty and Winston is eco-risk control, managing environmentally driven business risk. Businesses can be proactive about determining potential risk of future costs by examining or selecting materials and ingredients, or developing processes that don't have a significant environmental impact. Think of all the former gas station and other sites that need brownfield remediation before there can be new development. Site pollution can significantly reduce the value of the property. For the same reason, developers of food or beauty products should carefully study their products for potential health effects. Now we move to the upside. The first short-term upside play is eco-design, meeting customer environmental needs. Creating new products that produce customer delight by reducing their costs or providing a new way of doing business that is more effective or uses less time and resources. Think of the Prius hybrid with a 330 equivalent miles per gallon when maximizing electrical charging. Or think of how businesses are reducing facility costs while improving quality of work through work-at-home options facilitated by online meeting platforms like Zoom. The second short-term upside play is eco-marketing, that is, using green attributes to build product sales and customer loyalty. Seventh Generation is an excellent example of that by developing eco-friendly and healthy household products. Note, it is important that these products work as well as regular products, or they will not build customer loyalty. The third short-term upside play is creating a new market space for innovative products and services. In recent years, we've seen an explosive growth in the sharing business model like Uber or Airbnb, which sustainably uses resources that would otherwise sit idle, and hence reduces the overall number of vehicles or places to stay needed. After all, if the millennial generation can meet their transportation needs with Uber rides and their eco-travel needs through Airbnb, then the economy will need fewer cars and hotels. In a cutting-edge development, 3D printing is just beginning to show what can be done with the ultimate in custom, local, and just-in-time products. The last play described by Esty and Winston is a long-term upside play, building intangible value by building reputation and trust. Most of us have heard about the companies that have lost intangible value, such as Nike ignoring virtual slave labor in their supply chain, or BP Oil with their oil platform disaster with its devastating environmental effects. On the positive side, Starbucks has worked hard on establishing a reputation for social responsibility through strategic decisions such as purchasing fair trade coffee or replacing paper towels with energy-efficient hand dryers. This gives you a one-page summary of the green to gold plays we've discussed. Take a look at it. You can certainly come up with additional strategic plays to help organizations reach higher levels of sustainability, but this is a good start. The planning structure of short and long-term, downside and upside helps you organize your efforts to incorporate sustainability into your strategic plans. Now it's your turn. Develop near-term and far-term, upstream and downstream ideas for your business. The second sustainable approach to strategic planning is backcasting, developed as a part of the natural step theory. The premise of natural step is that we should create our businesses so they do not have an irreparable impact on the planet or the people. It operates on 4 principles. Don't take out more than can be replaced. Don't increase pollution and waste more than can be absorbed. Don't destroy nature and natural processes. And don't undermine people's ability to meet their needs. Regardless of whether you use the theory of the natural step or the eco-advantage green to gold plays or any other strategic planning method, the natural step has suggested a new approach to strategic planning, backcasting. Most of the traditional planning methods look at near-term or mid-term timeframes for planning purposes. Even scenario planning, which we're going to examine next, looks at circumstances that might affect business success in the long term and develops contingencies that can help a business overcome any uncertainties or take advantage of opportunities. Backcasting, though, takes your long-term vision and brings it forward to the present planning so that you can move in the desired direction. So, how is backcasting done? The first step in the process is to be aware of the impact that we are having in terms of resource use and abuse, whether materials, energy, water, or people. and develop a vision for where the organization wants to be. The second step is to get a careful measurement or baseline of where the organization is right now. The third step is to research or develop creative solutions. And then the fourth step is to decide on priorities, because there will be more that you want to do than you can do. Each action that you take should be taking you towards your vision. Ultimately, you will have a better opportunity to reach your vision because, as Stephen Covey said in The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, all things are created twice, first mentally and then physically. The key to creativity is to begin with the end in mind, with a vision and a blueprint of the desired result. Now it's your turn. Create an ABCD plan for your organization's vision for a greener future. First, how will you create awareness of your organization's impacts and opportunities? How will you measure your baseline? Brainstorm goals and strategies for the long term. And finally, what actions can the organization take to reach its vision? Now that you've determined where you are and where you want to be, you need to examine possible scenarios that could expedite or hamper your progress. This is a contingency planning process called scenario planning. Scenario planning is looking at several views of what the future might be. It's not a forecast, but possible futures based on circumstances surrounding the organization. It is a tool for managing the uncertainties of the future. For example, let's say that your young niece and nephew are coming over for the day. If you are wise, you may make several plans depending on the weather and the availability of activities. There are 4 scenarios that you could include in your planning. It's raining and the museum is closed. It's raining and the museum is open. It's sunny and the museum is closed. Or it's sunny and the museum is open. These are the steps that you take in scenario planning. First, identify a decision that you need to make regarding the direction of your company, a new product line, an acquisition, or a new direction in sustainability. List key factors influencing success or failure. Facts about customers, suppliers, competitors. Third, identify the driving forces in the business environment that influence the key factors: social, economic, political, environmental, and technological. Next, rank the key factors and driving forces by importance and uncertainty. Identify the 2 to 3 factors or trends that are most important or uncertain. Create the scenario matrix. We'll look at that on the next slide. And finally, rehearse the future. How does the decision look in each scenario? If the decision looks good in only one scenario, then it is high risk. How could your strategy be adapted to make it more robust? What are the signposts that identify which scenario is happening? This is how you lay out the 4 scenarios. You've identified 2 critical or uncertain factors or forces that will create 4 possible futures. Typical dimensions are the economy, high and low, the political environment, supportive or hostile, customer preferences, a desire for custom products or cost-conscious, or competition, fierce or open. Let's take a look at an example, a new sustainability company with 2 dimensions, economy and government. Describe each scenario. Which one is best for your organization? Which is worst? For inspiration, you can name each scenario. These are named the Great Persuaders, Innovation City, Financial Geniuses, and Wise Advisors. Let's take another look at those. For fun and inspiration, you can find photos that illustrate each scenario. In this example, the best scenario is upper right, with the economy good and government support high. This we will call Innovation City, because we can publish works that advocate cutting-edge innovations. The next best scenario is with the economy good, but government support low, meaning that people have money and are willing to buy if you have an excellent product or service and great marketing. Your focus should be on developing a strong marketing strategy to accompany your excellent sustainability ideas. The two less desirable scenarios have poor economies. With high government support, you can be wise advisors, making recommendations for the best use of available funds and grants. In the worst scenario at bottom left, you need to be financial geniuses, finding ways that can save the businesses money while making them more sustainable. Scenario planning is used in the real world. Here are a couple of examples. In the first example, a computer company had to decide whether to spin off their manufacturing division. They developed two scenarios for the future of the information industries. Coral Reef was a colorful IT world with many small companies, a hectic pace of development, and consumer and business customers interested in the latest products. Deep Sea was a world in which a few large suppliers dominated and customers preferred dealing with established suppliers. When the management team was introduced to the scenarios, they recognized that their strategic plan had assumed that the world was a coral reef world, but their strengths were aligned with the deep sea scenario. The team rethought their strategy and plan, focusing on their competitive strengths. In this second example, the Millennium Ecosystem Assessment assessed the consequences of environmental changes for human well-being. Their findings provide a state-of-the-art scientific appraisal of the condition and trends in the world. At upper left, we have global orchestration. This scenario depicts a globally connected society that focuses on global trade and economic liberalization and takes a reactive approach to the environmental problems, but also takes strong steps to reduce poverty. Economic growth in this scenario is the highest of the four, while it's assumed to have the lowest population in 2050. Order from strength, this scenario represents a regionalized and fragmented world concerned with security and protection and taking a reactive approach to environmental problems. Economic growth rates are lowest in this scenario, while population growth is the highest. Not good. Adapting mosaic, in this scenario, societies developed a strongly proactive approach to the management of the environment. Economic growth rates are somewhat low initially, but increase with time, and the population in 2050 is nearly as high as order from strength. And finally, in the techno garden, this scenario depicts a globally connected world relying strongly on environmentally sound technology. Economic growth is relatively high and accelerates, while the population in 2050 is in the mid-range of the scenarios. Now it's your turn. Using the template on the next slide, brainstorm scenarios that could affect your organization. Develop an action plan for each quadrant on a separate page or slide. Let's turn the page on our standard operating methods and create a greener world. How can we do that with these sustainable approaches to strategic planning? Well, we can create an eco advantage for our business by looking at reducing costs and risks while taking advantage of opportunities and reputation. We can backcast from our vision so that every step we take will take us to a more sustainable future. We can adapt to different scenarios so that we can be successful in uncertain times. As you will see when you do this, when you incorporate sustainability into your strategic plans, you can create a better world.